Okay. So now we can share our pearls of wisdom since I've turned on the record button.
Okay.
John, how do you keep from being drawn into this crazy political stuff?
I don't watch it.
I don't normally, but it just seems like, I don't know. I am watching a little bit of it. I watch, I check Google News on my computer, and it's just, it's so absurd, and I know I should be ignoring it, and yet, I find myself getting hooked into it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just watching it as like entertainment, basically, then that's fine. Just don't believe any of it because, again, when you know yourself in a real sense, that formlessness, then all the thoughts that the mind can give you are definitely in form because the mind only knows the form. You know, the mind came after you, appears upon your spontaneous presence, as Maharaj says. So when the mind presents things to you, it has to present it through form, and you're formless. But the mind doesn't know that, that whole flow of thoughts is directed towards the body because it comes along. Mind, ego, intellect come along with the body. So all the thoughts are directed towards the body. You're formless. So every thought that doesn't have to do with the formless something, you just disregard.
Hey, John, in the book Gospel, one sentence says that if a person becomes realized, it uplifts their ancestors. And I've always wondered about that. I was thinking of writing Maharaj that question. Do you know anything about how it could possibly help ancestors?
Because your idea and belief about the ancestors being separate and apart from would disappear. You are not body, you are not body, you're not going to remain body. All of this is directed towards that formless presence that you're the knower of. You're a knower, formless knower. This sense of presence is felt through body form. So if you know yourself in a real sense, automatically your whole lineage of family, is just the 5 elements conglomerated and means nothing.
But
To you, the formless presence.
How does that help them, wherever they are?
Because they are not, just like you are not. You are not. The ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself as a person are not true. You're like sky. So if it says, if sky comes to know itself, that all the little clouds will automatically realize your family lineage is in a dream. So when you know yourself in a real sense, of course, it's going to benefit all your relatives and lineage and all of that because they are not. And you're going to know this. When you know yourself in a real sense, all the form disappears. You're no longer attracted to form, nor are you able to believe the thoughts. When the mind presents these things to you and says, this is the reality, no, it can't be, because all of this appears upon spontaneous presence. All of these people that I believe were grandma and grandpa and all this kind of stuff were just the one selfless self that I am in various different forms that are appearing on my spontaneous presence, and I'm formless. So none of this matters at all. None of this is. It's going to break the concept of the fact that you have specific genetics and are born in a family and all this kind of stuff. Like I saw an ad for, I think it was Ancestry.com, which I kind of had to chuckle because this lady, she said, I found out that I was 15% Nigerian. So I went out and I bought the Nigerian headgear and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was so proud of my Nigerian heritage. But 5 minutes before that, she had no idea. So what is that? It's concepts and beliefs in concepts because I am somebody else desperately wants to grab, that sense of because you're not. You, the selfless self, know that this appearance on your spontaneous presence is a transient thing. It's illusory. It came out of nothing. It dissolves within nothing. But the ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself in body form because you want that body form to keep existing so that you feel you can keep existing, you need additional concepts to try and keep the reality of the falseness. Because the false is false. That's why if right now every thought that came to you is going to come to you in form, because the mind only knows form, and yet you are formless. And through the meditation, through the Nam mantra, through remaining with your selfless self, you start to get that sense. You'll feel that sense of presence. And that sense of presence is formless. So all forms are appearing on that spontaneous presence, but thoughts that are created specifically for a form make no sense. They're easily discarded. Every thought about form is discarded because you know yourself in a real sense, your form. You do your job, do your duties in the moment, but you have no expectations, nor desires, nor anything, because it's a form thing. You remain with your own selfless self. Be with you always, as Maharaj says. So your question about Das Bodh saying that your whole, it will affect your whole entire family. Yes, because they are not. When you know yourself in a real sense, none of this world will appeal to you at all. You'll still do things, you'll still have things and all this, but it loses everything. It just loses it. And when there is an attraction, that's when you use mantra to remain with your selfless self, because that mind presents ideas and thoughts in form. Watch your mind. It only presents in form, because the mind is actually a form of sorts appearing on with the body on the spontaneous presence that you are. So it can only present form, and yet you're formless. So how can the mind present anything that would be of any interest to you? It goes back to Maharaj saying, you're sky. If at all you want to compare yourself to sky. Does sky have any interest at all? Who's president of any of these countries? Or even if a nuclear missile goes up in the air, does sky even, does it, what? Sky doesn't know it's sky. So it'll set the ancestors free now. Yes, the beliefs and ideas that they held about themselves were the same selfless self, just in a different body form, believing itself to be a body. And again, the body is just a conglomeration of the 5 elements. Think about it. It's just the goo. Like Maharaj says, the food body. Mom and dad ate some food and that goo got in their system and did this and created this little form called you. And that form then, because the spontaneous presence is seeing through that form, starts to believe that form to be itself. But the body started with the 5 elements and ends with the 5 elements, but you are the projector of the 5 elements. All of this is appearing upon your spontaneous presence. When Maharaj says, know yourself in a real sense, it's because when you know yourself in a real sense, none of this form stuff makes sense. None of this life that you used to believe you were living makes sense, because you'll know yourself in a real sense. And the thoughts that are presented, oh, what about Trump? Trump who? What? In order for there to be a Trump, there has to be an I am somebody else. Otherwise, it's just scenes passing. That's it. No interest at all, totally unconcerned. And when the mind starts to, that flow of thoughts is identified with in something, just remind yourself, but I'm formless. That's it.
Maybe the political scene is helpful because it sort of provokes us to look at this in ourselves.
Could be.
Selfless self playing at the opposite end, pushing us.
Could be. I mean, for my own self, like I said, I work in the political arena and have no interest, no concern about it whatsoever. Don't read the news. Don't listen to the news. I didn't find out that about the Hawaii false nuclear scare until Monday when somebody talked about it in a meeting, and I thought, oh, that would be interesting. That was it. And it's not that I don't care. It's just that knowing yourself in a real sense, all of this is just appearing on the theater of mind.
And also it's just, it's a happening in a sense that there's no one doing anything. It's just like a movie. It's taking place as it is. And,
exactly.
It's, like I think Nisargadatta said, it's the impersonal functioning,
yes,
of the totality.
Exactly. 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 Sometimes the sense of feeling of an unknown kind of formless becomes, oh, is there more? Hold on. Oh, there it is. Becomes evident, and it's a unique sense that I don't usually notice, and it feels free of me. Yes, and through mantra, that will that's that. Once you know yourself in a real sense, this mind that you keep worrying about, that's dictating to you, it presents things to you in form. Every thought, every idea, every concept that's presented in form to this formlessness that you are is discarded just automatically. That's what I think, they talk about discrimination by Vecca or something like that. And that's what that is. Okay, now how do I close this little group chat? Oh, shoot. Oh, there we go, close. Ah, good. But there's no worries. And all of this mind, ego, intellect that is being believed in is just causing unhappiness. So discard it. See, if you don't need happiness or unhappiness, then you're in your natural peaceful state where you are totally undisturbed, either by happiness or unhappiness. All thoughts that are presented to you are just disregarded, because, like Maharaj says, which thoughts to choose and which not thoughts to choose are up to you. And the thoughts that you don't want to choose are anything that has to do with form. Like, I should be upset about this, or, this person might think this about me, or I'm not doing as well as I think I should in life. Well, but that's form. So these are not thoughts that should irritate you at all, because it has to do with form. So disregard. A thought comes in, oh, I need to go to work tomorrow. I should pick out my clothes. Okay, there's no harm in that. No psychological kind of, I am somebody else, just pick out the clothes. Pick the clothes and go. And still happiness can come, because there's a pure happiness without trying to seek happiness in something else. There's a happiness within you that's being expressed.
Yeah, I like to think of it as the happiness. I don't use the word happiness, but it's like the peace of mind actually belongs to being prior to the arising of phenomenon. So nothing that arises, you shouldn't tie your happiness to what comes and go.
Exactly.
The outcome of events, whether you do a good job or a bad job, if your personal happiness depends on that, then you have set yourself up. So it's finding, to me, the word that is helpful is prior. The beingness is prior to the arising of phenomenon. So that's where the happiness comes from. And it's not really happiness; it's more like peace of mind, I would say, because happiness is like what I call pink bubble. It's like birthday, or something like Christmas. Those are like, phenomenal happiness that comes and goes. There is some happiness there, but it's not the everlasting happiness that comes from the peace of being.
Well, again, peace of being, you're prior to the being. The being is appearing on your spontaneous presence. And then these things are appearing for the being, or because of beingness. This beingness, this sense I am in this body form, mind, ego, intellect came along with that and started presenting things to this beingness, but you are prior to beingness. Beingness arose upon your spontaneous presence.
Right.
Spontaneously, just poof, being. No reason for it. And being is what will leave. And you, the selfless self, have to see that this beingness has nothing to do with me. That just as the mind is trying to present thoughts in form, this beingness is trying to, because it appears on spontaneous presence, you're observing this beingness, but believing that that beingness is your end all, like is all. Again, Maharaj uses the example of the ants. The selfless self believing in the form of an ant, when you pour water, the ants scurry away because they're afraid that, oh, they're going to be damaged. And the same thing with you. But you, once you see that these thoughts, through mantra, you start to see that the mind cannot present any thought to you that is not in form, because that mind appeared upon your spontaneous presence. This beingness created mind, ego, intellect, and this selfless self sees all of that and needs none of it. I get so entranced by cause and effect and result-based so-called reality. It is fair to say there is two types of being, one absolute and free and one relative based. But again, see, that's only if you're measuring yourself in body form. This is, like Maharaj says, prior to beingness, there's no body form. Don't measure yourself in body form, because even though you're holding a body, you're not in body form. You are not body, you were not body, you're not going to remain the body. So even though you're seeing a body form, you're not a body form. You're the holder of the body. And you're the holder of all the bodies. But you're formless. So in order to have ideas of cause and effect, you have to start relating to yourself as a body. Otherwise, cause and effect sky doesn't have cause and effect. Constantly, Maharaj points us back to sky, prior to beingness, sky. That's who is being spoken to when Maharaj speaks. Sky. Sky doesn't know cause and effect. Sky doesn't know itself. Sky is just there, everywhere, always. The holder of the body knows itself through body form, but is not body. It's sky, limiting itself to body form by belief, but in reality, it's not limited. It's only a belief that there's a limitation. And cause and effect can only happen from the perspective of a body, which you are not. Oops, my cord just got stuck. Again, meditation is the only source, like Maharaj says. Mantra. Stay with your selfless self. In every single moment, don't give yourself away. Stay with your selfless self. Let things come and go. Mind can only present, this is so key, mind can only present ideas to you in form, in the form world. And when you know yourself in a real sense, as that knower of that sense of presence, that formlessness, then you will not, cannot be attracted in form. You won't be chasing your tail all day long. And this conviction will appear. I had a dream 2 nights ago, I think it was last night or 2 nights ago, where I started reading Das Bodh. I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to read a chapter of Das Bodh every night before I go to sleep. And I don't know why, but it just came about, and I started doing that. And in doing that, I had a dream. And in the dream, where I believed it was real, a doctor said, you have a brain tumor and you're going to be dead in 6 months. And I'm in the dream now. I'm not thinking that it's a dream. It's like it's real. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, I am not body, I was not body, I'm not going to remain body. Body is not my identity. There's no birth or death to me. And I knew that then me, the seer of this activity inside the dream, saw that, and there was just a sense of total peace and relief, because it's spontaneous. I was not body, I am not body, I'm not going to remain body. Birth and death do not affect me. Even though in the dream I really believed that this doctor was saying, you have a brain tumor and you're going to be dead in 6 months. It was a really cool experience, actually.
Yeah. Definitely.
Oh, that's interesting.
I get so entranced by cause and effect and result-based so-called reality. It is fair to say there's one absolute and one free and relative based. It's almost a syllogism to believe in body-mind. Also, I wonder if you get lucid dreams. Well, again, dream and waking state are exactly the same. Your just belief in them is separate. You believe that when you go to sleep, you have a dream, or when you're waking up, so to speak, you're having this waking state. But to the selfless self, it's all the same. That's why if you start to behave, Maharaj says this all the time, behave in your waking state like it was a dream, and you'll see the benefit in that. Because again, how you behave in the dream, if you know it's a dream, you're not going to be concerned when different various things happen, even if it appears to be happening against you, because you know it's a dream. When you know yourself in a real sense, everything that's presented to you through the form world will not irritate or cause you to lose patience or tolerance, because you'll absolutely know, just like you know it's a dream, you will know that this is a form type thing that's appearing on my spontaneous presence, but I'm the formless presence, and it doesn't matter. Sky, I compare myself to sky. Does sky worry about a bad review? Does sky worry about traffic? Does sky worry that your favorite food, they don't have it at the store? Does sky worry that there's going to be 6 feet of snow and you won't be able to get out of the house? No. Sky saw the destruction of the dinosaurs. Witnessed, I should say, not saw, but witnessed. Sky was there, the same sky was there in the destruction of the dinosaurs. Saw the dinosaurs rise up, saw the meteors or whatever happened. I don't know exactly what happened to the dinosaurs, but they all went extinct. Sky was still there. That same sky that's above you now was there then. Unchanged.
In that book, Self-Love, The Original Dream, I just started to read that. It's really good. And you know, in the introduction, they say that they're basically Maharaj and Sadguru Maharaj was addressing 2 levels of students. The first was helping them to really center themselves in consciousness. And then the second level is when they realize that consciousness itself is really an illusion, or it's the Maya Brahma. Brahman and Maya are one and the same thing, and it's going prior to that, beyond that. And, you know, it's like, and then the I am and the mantra are one and the same thing. Is that correct? I mean, as far as I can see, stabilizing in I am is the same thing as stabilizing in the mantra, basically, because the mantra means, Brahman means I am. But even that, yeah.
No, I was going to say the I am. I mean, at least for when Maharaj, Nisargadatta Maharaj says remain in the I am, that's that sense of presence.
Presence,
he
right.
He says that exist, I exist. And then he says remain with that I exist. Just keep going back into that I exist,
yeah,
which is the I am. the mantra allows you to go through this without having to remain in the I am, because it's just uncovering everything that's covering the I am that you are behind that. You're the knower of the sense of presence, the formless knowledge, the sense of presence that's felt through body form. The body is an instrument to know yourself in a real sense, that formlessness, the formless knower of the sense of presence.
So the mantra basically is moving you prior to consciousness, whereas
Yes.
stabilizing in the eye. So I think that, yeah, that's kind of like my question maybe. It seems like Ramakant Maharaj is moving, he's kind of like teaching from the second level, actually, not so much from the first. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. From where spontaneous presence arose.
Mm-hmm.
And then all this arose on spontaneous presence. And through mantra, it's disregarding all of the concepts. And he speaks from that sky to the sky. And the only way that sky can speak is through a body form when it has a voice box. But it's absolutely, it doesn't even see individuals. The relative I am falls away. See, again, don't get caught up in the words, I would say. The relative, the absolute, the consciousness, the all of this. Mantra, knowing yourself in a real sense. This is the key, because then all this spiritual, all the teaching, you'll read it and there's just some kind of recognition. Everything, every book. Like Maharaj says, the self-love, there's so much powerful recognition in that. It's like selfless self. The presence, when you know yourself in a real sense, there absolutely is no doubt that body is not my identity. I am the holder of the body, but I can't be a body, nor can I be anything in this world in a formed state. Yet I am everything in this world, because it's all arising on that spontaneous presence, that speck of knowingness.
With that speck of knowingness, that's the Maya, right? I mean, everything that's arising on the presence is illusion. It's not real. It's the dream. It's the dream. Yeah.
And the speck of knowingness creates the dream, and it's appearing on your spontaneous presence. The only way, like Maharaj says, the only way to know yourself in a real sense is using body. But the sky can't know it's sky. But space can know its space using body form, and then the instruments of mind, ego, intellect.
And there's no, I mean, like, if someone would ask the question, why do we take form in the first place? That question is, I mean, I think that Das Bodh says is that it didn't actually happen. It's a dream.
Exactly. It's basically a dream. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's no, like Maharaj says, there's no why. Like one night you choose this dream, and one night you choose to see this dream. There's no why. It's all spontaneously occurring.
Yeah.
I posted something from Nisargadatta Maharaj today that said, even to say that the reason you have body form is to know the self is incorrect, because none of this lasts. The only thing that's lasting is that I know myself in a real sense, and therefore I remain, I remain, I remain. When the doctors tell you you're dying, or this is happening or that's happening, I remain with my selfless self, and I know that everything appearing on spontaneous presence is illusion. One breath in, one breath out, I leave the body. And the witness of the leaving of the body is the last thing witnessed, basically. And then again, no body form, no knowing, but existence is there, just there's no knower of existence. You're the knower of the sense of presence. And when presence leaves the body, you'll know that presence has left the body, but then there'll be nothing left to be known.
There's no knower.
Yeah. But knowing this, that you are that, what could be fear? Because this never was. You never
Exactly.
were this.
Mhm. Exactly. That's the whole point. That's that's the whole reason for this whole.
Exactly.
To realize that, yeah.
Exactly. This never was. A body that presence believed for a time that it was and saw that it did not need, witnessed presence leaving, and then there was nothing further to know, so there was no knowing of the existence. But yet existence was there. Whatever was there prior to beingness, that beingness appeared on, will be there after beingness is no more. Excuse me. I think I'm catching a little bit of a cold too.
It's going through the airwaves here. But, how do you explain the desire for meaning? It seems like underneath everything, human beings want to think that their lives are meaningful or that there's significance to all of this.
Ego.
Yeah.
I mean, taking credit for things that you're not doing.
Yeah.
You, the formless doer, doing through form, believe that you're doing. And see, this is another key thing. The doingness, or the non-doership, is in the moment. And also so that the mind, see, when you're doing something, like you say, okay, I'm going to drink this water, and you do that in this moment. But the expectation of what happens after that is only in mind. And then past things that you believe yourself to have done that may be presented in thought form through mind to you are disregarded because I'm no doer. Basically, you do the absolute best, like Maharaj says, do your job, do your duties, 100% effort in the moment, but with no expectations. And if it doesn't go well, you don't beat yourself up about it.
Yeah.
That's the key. Mind is going to present things from past in form to the formless you to say, you did this wrong. That's going to try to stir that. Why is it stirring? Because mind needs your attention and your power to continue. So it's going to do anything it can to, to have these presenting these ideas. And then your attention brings these thoughts into life. Otherwise, they're flat, like balloon. You have to pump up the balloon. If you don't provide the balloon with air, your attention, and your power, the balloon is flat. Same with mind. Mind will be completely flat because you're no longer paying attention to the thoughts that are flowing that it's trying to use to present to a you that is not there.
Yeah. And you're feeding it through your attention.
Yeah. Through fear, basically. The fear that I may not be this, what if Maharaj is wrong?
Yeah.
Like Don, my friend, he said, well, I hope you're really clear on all this, because if you die and Jesus says, well, you didn't do the right thing and you're going to hell, my friend, what would you do? And see, for me, I understand absolutely. Jesus was this speaking as itself. People wrote down what they thought they heard, just like when Maharaj speaks. Very many people will differently interpret what they hear. When you read it, it's different interpretations based on the conditioning that happens to be appearing in the body and the eyes that you're reading through. But it's all the same. And knowing yourself in a real sense, the whole idea of devil and pitchfork, poking you, I'm formless. I know this.
Yeah.
How is the devil going to poke a pitchfork in the formlessness? And the devil is appearing in my spontaneous presence. Therefore, it is illusion, 100%. Devil appears before you and says, ha, 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 Maharaj lied. You're off to hell. I would be like, now, wait a minute. You're a form appearing in the formlessness. You appear in my spontaneous presence. Automatically, you're illusion. And turn away.
Yeah, the same process that created the devil created you.
What exactly? The illusion. What appeared on spontaneous presence? Concepts and beliefs in it. And just like thoughts will stop, you know, you imagine some devil appears before you, and you're like, no, 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 you know, mantra, 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 and that form will fade, as all forms do, because I remain with my selfless self. And whenever the heat gets turned up, I deeply go into mantra. I remain with my selfless self, and I watch as the forms that have appeared on my spontaneous presence fade. They come and they go. It's only my attention that makes them appear, that they stay longer, because I create time through this idea that this something needs my attention. And the I am somebody else that's created, that desires to have the attention for this something that creates time. It's all an intermingle. That's why the next thought that appears to you, just look and say, oh, look at that. That's a thought in form, basically. I know myself in a real sense. Even if I'm not knowing myself in a real sense all the time, so to speak, I only know myself in a real sense because I sit for an hour, I do mantra, and I feel that sense of presence. And I'm, oh, so that I. And then I go back into my daily life and I forget that, oh, so that I, until the time comes where I say, oh, so that I. I'm refreshing my memories. The memories are that all these memories in form are absolutely false. I'm the formlessness. All of this is appearing on that spontaneous presence. So it gets disregarded.
I was listening to Ramakant last night, on a YouTube, and it really clicked with me for, you know, like it kind of comes true, and then all of a sudden it fades away again. But just the whole idea that he was saying basically that there was nothing, and then there was this something, and then there's that nothing. Your reality is that nothing, and I don't know. It just kind of like it just really, yeah, that's really right. But to hold that, you know, like it's just like, you know, so the mantra, of course, which is, you know, the mechanism, the way that it's done. But it kind of comes, you know, the clarity is there. And then when that sets in, that, you know, like when that is seen for what it is, what he's saying, you really get it. Everything falls into place, kind of like it becomes absolutely simple. And then, you know, somehow you kind of progress, move out of it, kind of, you know, like, get distracted by one thing or another, and so forth and so forth. But those glimpses are really, I find, you know, they encourage me, you know. But it's just, you know, like, yeah. And oftentimes I'll listen, and I don't really, I'm not really. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say they go for longer periods of time and are more frequent as well.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes, you know, like, I don't really feel that much of a desire to watch, you know, the YouTubes. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But always when I do, it's kind of like, it's like, I'm really happy that I did. It's just kind of like, you know, it's just, can be a little resistance maybe or something like that. You know, maybe the drag on the mind, by the mind or whatever, or you got to do something else, or, you know, like, use your time in a different way or whatever. And but I find that whenever I do sit and listen, it really is very, very powerful.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, like when Maharaj first came to the USA, we videotaped it, and then those videos came out. Then the captions to those videos were done. And in going through each one of those videos, you know, in detail, captioning, not that I was just putting the captions on. Michael, of course, did the transcript, but just stopping the frames and listening to what he said and going through the whole series. I remember that was very, very powerful. Then when it came to the Spanish and stopping frame by frame by frame and putting the Spanish, the translation caption on each one of the frames all the way through the whole Ramakant Maharaj USA, again, a deeper, like you said, you're listening more deeply. Then, now, we're doing it in French. So going frame by frame by frame by frame and listening to Maharaj and going through the whole USA talks once again. It's very powerful.
Wow. You have your French dictionary there, or you speak?
No, it's kind of cool, actually, because I don't speak Spanish and I don't speak French, but somehow just knowing where Maharaj is and getting enough of the words, I am able to put the Spanish. I did all the USA, Ramakant Maharaj USA in Spanish, and now we're going through and doing them in French. Gopal and, I don't know how to say the name, Gualam Fraji or something like that. They give me the translation. Then I sit with the videos and I just sit and put them in. They're already doing Ramakant Maharaj in Francais, and we've got September 12th and September 16th finished and are working on September 17th. And no, I don't speak French. It's just, like, of course, Selfless Self is doing it, and Selfless Self speaks all the languages, so it doesn't really matter. But there's an indication of where to, and it's correct, because they're like, yeah, it's correct. So,
Wow, that's cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
But going through, what I guess I'm saying is going through the videos again and again, like, because I've listened to the videos many, many times, and then through the Spanish, listen to all of them. Now in the French, listen, and it gets deeper and deeper, because remember, Selfless Self is recording. And there's an understanding that may not have been there, but now the listener has been listening and has heard what it was said previous. And it's now the knowledge is starting to come about, listening again and grasping.
Yeah.
And yeah, doing the videos, it's definitely, I mean, it's really, really powerful, because you're listening, when the captions are done, I might have to listen to 2 or 3 sentences 4 or 5 times. And it's just like, it's hammering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, again, involvement, like Maharaj says, involvement with yourself as self.
Mm.
That's, like, I mentioned, some time back that I started recording some of the greatest, like Yoga Vashista, Ramana Maharshi, Selfless Self, I Am That. I've been recording them because my vision is kind of like becoming less and less. There'll be a day when I can't read anymore. So basically, I find that when I do that, it's like, it helps just when you're reading it and recording it, and then you pause, and then if you make you mispronounce something, you kind of do it over. It really helps to kind of like open up that, the wisdom that's there, that focus. And, I got stuff from Ranjit Maharaj, some extraordinary satsangs. I don't know, like I have some that were, they're all on tape. I was told that I could maybe just put them onto an MP3, and there's like maybe 7 of them that are really good, because they had this lady who was there, an American lady, who was translating for she wasn't translating Maharaj Ranjit, but what she was doing was, his English was not so clear, but she had an ear that was extraordinary, and her friend from Los Angeles was there with her. And she had a hearing problem, so she was, everything he said, she was just saying it to her, whispering it to her in his ear, and that was what was recorded. So it's, you could hear his voice, but also the recording. It's almost like the captioned sort of version,
yeah.
you know. So I was, one of these days, if I have a good time, I might just try to do those and put them up on the YouTube, something like that.
Sounds
How
good.
could I?
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be nice.
Andrew,
yeah.
Andrew, I'm highly interested in that. Where did you get those? How could I get some?
I got the, well, when I sat, you know, when I went to India, everyone had their tape recorders in those days, and they would just, when he would start talking, they just hit the button and record what he said. So
You've met Ron before? You've met Ranjit?
yeah. I, you know, back, you know, in 98, 99, and 2000, I went to India those times to visit with him. And
Him in Sedona when he came to Sedona?
well, that's how I actually went to visit with him when they came to Sedona. But no, you know,
Is there
like,
a place to sell that they're selling those tapes? I would really love to hear them.
no, as I said, the only thing I could, you know, like, I could maybe make copies of them on an MP3, and that way they could be on YouTube. You can hear them that way. And I don't know, in terms of making copies, I don't know if they still do that these days or not. Probably, it depends on what, I know in Sedona they don't. It's a small town. I'd have to look into that. But, you know, again, you know, basically he's saying it's just the whole lineage teaching that's just really, there are differences in terms of terminology and words. Like instead of selfless self, he would say he would use that term. But believe me, it's just identical. It's just really identical. And there's something about when a master speaks, there's just this, I don't know, there's just this special quality that really I find very, you know, just shatters all the ice, kind of melts down the walls and everything else. And that's, you know, that's what I was saying when I was listening to Ramakant last night, just because I've heard him say these things over and over. But again, you know, when you keep listening over and over, they just kind of, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. And then eventually, like, you know, John, you were saying, when you're dreaming, it's there. You know, it's that deep. You know, it's just really incredible. But yeah, these were some of the initial talks that these two ladies, Sharmila, Linda Phelps, and Jeannie, she was a musician, a flautist from Los Angeles. They went there, and Sharmila was she was the one translating for Jeannie, who had the hearing problem. And also Sharmila was the lady who translated the bhajans into English, so the ones that, you know, that are now being that we're using, those, she did those along with a lady from Italy, this lady Mangala. They got together and they would sit with Ranjit every day for a couple of months, and they would go through part of the bhajans, and he would tell them what they meant in English, and so that's the way that happened.
Andrew, were the bhajans done exactly the way Ramakant does them? Has that been the lineage?
Yeah. You know, primarily they're really it's the same thing. They have what they call the short. You know, like basically, I look at the translations that are being used now, and at Ranjit Ashram, it's the same thing. It's the same translation. You know, the words and everything else. And you know, sometimes in bhajans they extend them. They may include much more about Nisargadatta Maharaj, because that was the master of Ramakant Maharaj. You know, and with Ranjit, the bhajans, and with Ranjit Maharaj, because he was like the last one. So they didn't go into Ramakant Maharaj. But basically, they're the same. You know, the bhajans are the same. And
Nisargadatta did those as well?
Nisargadatta, no, those were actually prior to Nisargadatta. Those are, I don't know when they were. I think they were composed with Tukarama. I'm not quite sure.
Wow.
But there is, in the morning bhajan, the first part of that bhajan was done by Nisargadatta Maharaj himself. He wrote that, the first part of the morning bhajan. And then it begins, once that's over, it goes into Ganesha and so forth. Then it's that picks up where the original. So the addition was done by Nisargadatta Maharaj in the morning bhajan, the first part. If you read the translation, you can see that.
So really, this is kind of a lifestyle. I mean, it's like a 24/7 practice. Is that correct?
More so, yeah. More for me, at least, it's becoming more and more the case. I have to say, when I first visited with Ranjit Maharaj, I was really, I had totally transitioned from a completely different way of life, and I just kind of showed up, and I didn't really get a lot of it. I have to be honest. I didn't really get a lot of it. I mean, it was very powerful, but I didn't quite. When I left and got out of that sort of atmosphere, I kind of, didn't quite, I hung on to it, but there was so many things happening in my life. I had to kind of like recreate my whole life that I just kind of lost it. And I never did really understand the importance of the mantra until I began to read Selfless Self about maybe a year ago or something like that, a little longer than a year ago. And then, it was like, for me, it was like a whole new renewal when I came through Ramakant Maharaj. I received an email from this friend of mine. His name is Krishna, and he sent me an email saying that Ramakant Maharaj was going to be visiting the United States. And then so I wrote Charles to ask him about that. And so that's how I got reacquainted with everything. I mean, I had held on to it for, prior to getting in touch with Ramakant Maharaj, for years I had been reading like Master of Selfless Self, Ramana Maharshi, all of the Nisargadatta's books. I would get up every morning and just read through those and, meditate on those. And then, I always, I would read the bhajans. I just read them in English. I didn't sing them. And then finally, eventually Ramakant showed up. It was kind of like I got found by Ramakant Maharaj. That's the way I felt about it. So it's really, really special. So now it's become like a so much more full-time way of life. That mantra, doing that 24/7, or at least as long as you can remember it, as long as you remember to do it, and it gets to be more and more constant. It's more and more time through the day I'm doing it.
You get the mantra from Ramakant or Ranjit?
I'm using the one that Ranjit gave me because it's they're all like basically the same. There's a few I feel like I received it through Ranjit. He gave me the mantra, and I like it actually a lot. It's the meaning in it has really kind of opened up for me. And
I thought there was just one mantra that's the Nam mantra. So there's a few.
There's different expressions, yeah. A few, not too many, but there are a few different expressions. And in Selfless Self, I think they're mentioned there.
What was it like when you met Ranjit? Had you been involved in other paths before? How did it become a pivotal experience for you?
Well, when I had, I was a priest at one time, a Catholic priest. I was a Jesuit priest, and I was in a religious order. And then, I got involved in a relationship, left their order. And then, that was, I don't know if we should be, I don't want to take up your time with all this. But basically, 23 years in a religious order, you know, when you leave with absolutely nothing. So you got to recreate your life entirely because there's no Social Security, there's no work, there's no anything, no car, no nothing. You just got to kind of like start from scratch.
Wow.
So basically, you know, I was searching for something, you know, that spoke to me more deeply than the Christian path. Since then, I've come to see that there's a lot, you know, that there's a lot there. But at the time, I was really searching for something much deeper. And so, you know, I eventually found my way to, you know, through a series of circumstances, I found my way to Ranjit Maharaj when he came to Sedona. And then I went to India to visit with him. So. But he was, yeah, he was, you know, like, he was definitely, you know, a milestone for me, really just extraordinary experience.
Right,
And as
from
I said,
from the first meeting or over time?
when I first sat with him, you know, like, again, I had never heard anything from this perspective in my entire life when I first met him. So it was just, what does this mean or what does that mean? It was really, but there was something there that kept pulling me into it. And so slowly, what he taught a lot, he really pushed us to really kind of like get also acquainted with Sri Ramakant Maharaj. You know, he translated Amrit Laya. There was 2 versions of that, Amrit Laya 1 and Amrit Laya 2. And, you know, just reading like Sri Ramakant Maharaj, his lectures and that were I found them to be very helpful. And I can make the leap from where I came from, the background, and understand some of this new way of speaking about spirituality. And, you know, like, so having the opportunity to read the way it was expressed through Sri Ramakant Maharaj helped me to understand Ranjit Maharaj more. Because in those talks, when he would speak, again, oftentimes I didn't understand what he was saying because his English was not always the best.
Right.
And also he was speaking to people there at all different sorts of levels, so he was sometimes be way over my head. They had people there who had studied for years, you know, and knew, I mean, they were asking questions and they were resonating quite well. And I would be sitting there, you know, just trying to figure out what they was talking about. So, but he's, you know, one thing he told us the whole group one day, he said, all of you are going to get it. So.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, he said that, so that was really encouraging. Because I think he saw some of us really struggling along.
Thank you for sharing that. That's fascinating.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
And helpful. I think it's helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, again, like what he was telling us when he said, you're gonna, I mean, I think he recognized that we were really earnest. And if there's that earnestness, it's going to be, you know, it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, you know, when I, this is such a radical teaching. I mean, it totally goes against all the conditioning that people generally consider normal.
Yeah.
And I mean, in some ways, it's the idea of non-doership could almost seem sociopathic in a way. I mean, but of course it's not. It's the opposite of that. But I can't get my mind around it. I don't know if it's possible to get the mind around it. And so I like to listen to people that have, you know, been around for a while and see what their experience and how they've integrated this teaching.
You know, from my point of view, you know, like that's the lesson, that you cannot get the mind around it.
Yeah.
And you know, because it's all we know. Basically, that's what we consider ourselves to be: is our mind, intellect, and ego. And so basically, the whole teaching is about getting beyond that.
Yeah.
It's a deep habit, I can tell you. Yeah.
So I mean, when we're trying to learn something, we are attracted to certainty, right? Generally, and we gravitate toward people who have a certain certainty. Is certainty even possible with this teaching?
Once you know yourself in a real sense, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the conviction, right? That's
Exactly. When through mantra, you'll know yourself in the real sense. Spontaneous conviction will occur, and you'll know that you'll just know.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we were saying, all the thoughts that the mind can try to produce and bring to you, you know yourself as a formless sense of presence, and this mind is offering you thoughts in form. So it won't make sense. You'll automatically turn away from anything and everything that has to do with form because you know yourself in a real sense. Sky is not interested in this or this or this.
Mm-hmm.
And just mantra will do this. It's not a learning, because you're basically discarding everything that you've learned, because everything that you've learned has been illusion and has just been taking you away from your own self. There's nothing you can learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about, I just posted today about Nisargadatta Maharaj saying, even to say that you have this body to know yourself is incorrect, because you're taking nothing with you. Nothing. Only the knower of the sense of presence, and when this body form, when the presence leaves the body, the knower will sense that last thing that the knower will know is the sense of presence leaving. It noticed the sense of presence sort of coming, even though it's not coming and going, it's all one thing, but coming out of body, breathing in, breathing out, finished, that'll be the last knowing. And then after that, the knower knows nothing, because there's nothing to be known. Because the something that appeared for a time is no more, and it's back to nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You'll know this. And that's why Ranjit Maharaj says you'll get it, because of course you, the you that you are, will witness the presence leaving the body, and you'll know. So yes, everyone here will get it. Because you never were a body. The body ideas and all the beliefs you're holding about yourself as Jim and John and Trish and all this, it's not true. And all ideas that are presented to you about this body form that you believe yourself to be are not true. Therefore, they're easily discarded. And the best way to do that is, like Maharaj says, you know yourself in a real sense through body form as formlessness. And you don't allow the mind to stir with an I am somebody else, because before the mind stirs with an I am somebody else, you use that stirring in the silence to use mantra. And then the I am somebody else doesn't get to go, because the background is silence. Mantra returns you to silence. That's your natural state. And this I am somebody else would appear upon your spontaneous presence and is no more. We have like Silent Warriors in the background or something, or Star Wars. I hear like laser blasts or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, there's somebody else, Jay. Who is
Jay.
that? I don't know. Somebody new. Huh.
Very formless.
Somebody who
Yeah, yeah.
Jay is deep in mantra.
looks like the sunset.
Would that we could see ourselves just like that.
There you go.
And not see this body form.
Exactly.
What exactly does the mantra mean?
I am Brahman, Brahman I am.
Yeah, but what does that mean?
It's reminding you of your true self, your true identity. Before you believed yourself to be Trish. Trish appears on Brahman, appears on spontaneous presence. It's gone. All body knowledge has been dissolved.
Wow, perfect.
Indeed.
How did that turn into Jim? It was Jay and then it turned into Jim? Or was there another spot open for Jay?
Oh, Jim, I think, yeah, there was a spot open for Jay because Jay was actually on video. Jim, I think, is on a phone or something.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm on a computer, but I don't have a
Okay.
camera. Yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
But there really was a Jay there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
huh.
I like that silence, though. That was the best answer yet.
No questions, no answers.
Yeah.
Because every time you believe yourself to be forming a question or that there's someone can answer, you're in body form.
That's taking the form.
Exactly. Because you're asking a question and then assuming that someone else is going to be able to answer. So therefore, the question and the listener are divided by an idea and a belief that they're separate. That's why Maharaj says, do the questions for your own selfless self. Question your own selfless self. The answers will come within inside you because they're actually coming inside you, but you're looking at them through different body forms. And then the idea that there's a separation occurs rather than just knowing that the same that's going on inside is going on outside, so to speak, through different body forms. But it's just the selfless self questioning and answering. But it's when the idea arises that there can be a questioner asking a question that someone can answer that the I am somebody else gets involved. Egoistic question answer. There's a lot of feedback. What is that?
I don't know.
It's like every time I talk, I can hear it. Like, whoa, 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 whoa,
Yeah,
whoa,
yeah.
whoa, 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 whoa.
It's like a TV on the background.
Yeah, I think it's
See, there's you.
that's me.
No. You see, like, hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello.
No?
Yeah, somebody's got like an echo or something going.
Oh.
Hmm.
Ah,
We'll see.
well, maybe we should all be wearing earphones.
Sounds like the plummet in someone's bathroom to me.
Well, technology, what can you say?
But
I missed, I'm sorry. I was just going to say, I missed the last webcast, but I caught it the next day on the recording that Kathleen was nice enough to send everybody, and listened to it, and I found it really helpful.
Good.
Yeah. I enjoyed the part, John, about you sharing how this all came to be. That was interesting.
Good.
Yeah. I'm gonna mute myself unless I have a question and see if that helps. Maybe get rid of some of this noise.
Okay.
This concept came to me today. All knowns are limits, but not all limits are known. Someone's mic might be too close to the broadcast speakers. This concept came to me today. All knowns are limits, but not all limits are knowns. Yeah. All knowns are limits. I don't know. There's no limit. You, the selfless self, Sky has no limitations whatsoever. Again, think about Sky. All the way from dinosaurs. You know, the creation of the dinosaurs and all this kind of stuff, and all the way through, long after these bodies are gone, Sky is there. Wars have come and gone. Countless civilizations have come and gone under the same sky. So where's the limit of Sky? The only limit that can be placed on Sky is through an idea or a belief that's not true, that's believed in as true. Oh, there's Jay. Hello, Jay.
Hi.
Oh, we can see the top of your head. Okay, that's better. Oh, welcome, Jay. This is the first time we've seen you.
Thanks. Just listening here in the tail end. Haven't been to one of these, or haven't joined one of these meetings so far. Not sure how good my audio is, but
I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Yeah, where are you? Where are you coming from?
I'm actually here in the East Coast, but I can only stay on for a few minutes, so I'm I just wanted to just kind of listen into the conversation.
That's cool.
That's cool.
You were at Maharaj's house, right?
Yes, actually I was. Yes,
Okay,
yes. I
yeah,
remember
yeah.
seeing you there. Yes.
Yeah. There you go.
Hey, great.
I'm I juggle two different audio devices here. So.
Okay. So you're on the mailing list then. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're getting the email that I send out.
Yes. But
Yeah.
I usually can't attend these because of work conflicts. But fortunately, today I was able to tune in.
Okay.
Good.
Oh, great. Yeah.
How long do these meetings usually last?
From 7:15 until usually around 9 o'clock.
I see. Okay.
But you can come for any part of it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
And afterwards, I can send you. You know what? If you want to get the recording of this,
Yes. That would be appreciated. Yes.
Okay, but I need to know what your email is.
Oh, yes. Actually, I'm on that email list.
I know, but I don't know which one is you.
Oh, I'll send you a follow-up email message then to connect. So
Yeah.
do that. I don't want to interrupt with the flow here of dialogue. So
Okay.
so go ahead and carry on as you were before I joined.
Not everybody gets the recording, just the people who come.
Oh, I see.
Or who ask for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's basically the email goes out inviting everyone from Ramakant Maharaj USA, but then the recording is only sent to the participants.
I see.
So it's basically not to spam those that might not be interested.
I see. That makes sense.
Right. It's for many are called and few are that idea. All are called and few are chosen.
So how many people generally attend these meetings?
Well, there's 8 people right now.
I see.
That's a pretty good showing for us.
I see. So typically it's about a half dozen then or so?
Yeah, it's anytime between 6 and 10, something like that. Yeah. So it's very good. Then you can also bring up, I think if you go to the website on YouTube, John has put a lot of these on YouTube, so you can catch up with past recordings.
Yes, I've seen some of those. Yes, actually, John has done a great service for the community overall in posting so many nice videos. So I want to send him my thanks for that.
Good.
Yeah, I agree.
Jai Sadguru.
For me, John, this isn't just about the conversation. I get a very strong energy hit from this. I mean, it's just incredibly powerful energy.
Good.
I wish Maharaj were on some of these calls, like some of the old Skype sessions that we used to have.
Yes.
Maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've talked to him about that, but it's very difficult to arrange other than but I've asked, can he do a Zoom or even a Skype or something like that. Right now he's not in the ashram, so.
Yes, I'm aware.
Do you think that he'll ever return to the United States for a visit sometime in the future?
I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Somebody had said that he might come back in October again of this year, but I don't think so, because even he canceled the France or England trip or whatever it was due to health.
Yeah.
Is there any way that any of you know of sending him a text message to make sure he actually receives it? I've tried through regular texting, through Skype texting, through WhatsApp, and nothing seems to get through. So I don't know whether it's just the internet connection over in the rural areas where he's staying, or whether it's just that he doesn't have any of these apps activated on a cell phone.
The Live at Ranjit Ashram has a WhatsApp. Are you on that?
Yes, and actually, I did actually submit a question, which fortunately was answered before Maharaj left.
Good.
And I use a Mixer app also. It's helpful,
yeah.
But the thing is, it just seems like it's very hard to communicate with him. So every once in a while there may be just a little question that one would want to ask, which is not necessarily a generic question, but more of a personal, specific question. And it would be nice to be able to communicate with him. So if you happen to find such an avenue.
If you send what your question is in an email to me, I will copy and paste it and send it to Maharaj on his WhatsApp.
Okay, I see.
But that won't be until he comes back. And sometimes, quite frankly, other people have done this, and he doesn't necessarily always answer. He may answer in the next discussion without specifics, because the whole idea is that there's the I am somebody else, the personal self, is not who he's speaking to. So the ideas and beliefs you're holding about yourself as a personal self, in and of itself, if they're answered, will only reinforce the concept that you're a personal somebody.
Yes, and certainly, I do find that sometimes some of the philosophical questions get automatically answered. So it's not really necessary, but a lot of what Maharaj says tends to be very redundant, but deliberately so.
Absolutely.
Finding it's that hammering effect is very, very helpful.
Yes, he's hammering the selfless self, not the ideas and beliefs that the selfless self is holding about itself in that particular body form. He's hammering the selfless self so that it releases you, the selfless self, release the ideas and beliefs about the body form that you're holding, that you're believing yourself to be, that you are not.
You could summarize that with just one word, right? Just say nothing, period.
Indeed.
Nothing. Just because prior to, nothing.
Yeah, he's speaking from the nothing to the nothing, ignoring the appearance of the something.
Yeah. It's about the only way to stop the mind.
But like I said, if you send me, and of course, again, he doesn't come back until like February 20th or something. But if you send in an email, because I've done that before, and people will send an email, I'll copy it, I'll send it to WhatsApp. I'm not going to really read your question or how personal it is or whatever. I just copy it and post it from the email into WhatsApp.
Maybe sometime in February I'll do that then, John,
Sure.
when he's closer to returning. So maybe he'll be more likely to respond.
Sure.
But again, since I'm new to this discussion, you know, there's a little bit of a paradox in this discussion. On the one hand, as you post on your website, you mentioned that if you have spontaneous realization or conviction, then you know, Maharaj wants those who attain that status to disseminate the teachings. But on the other hand, he also says that one should keep one's own personal spiritual experiences to, one should keep those to oneself and not discuss those in a group discussion. So it's a little bit of a paradox here, and that's one reason why I've been sort of reluctant to participate in this in the past, aside from work schedule conflicts. So do you feel like that spontaneous conviction is developed in your case? And I know it's even asking that question is somewhat paradoxical, because that presumes that you have an ego remnant, and so a true jnani would not declare that he is one for a reason. So, but in your own meditative practice, have you realized a breakthrough?
There's nothing being held on to here. Truly, it's just instrument of Sadguru and spontaneous speaking, spontaneous listening, scenes that will appear and disappear, and no mind of any kind, no thoughts, everything is just spontaneous speaking. And in every day with doing job and all this kind of stuff, it's just never a sense of otherness or something other.
Yeah, that's I still haven't been able to you know, certainly experiences of nothingness or deep peace have occurred, but I don't I can't say that background is constant, at least in the midst of intellectual activity.
It's only not constant when an I am somebody else arises and places you in time. And the mantra helps to eliminate that I am somebody else arising. So when you're stepping forward, so to speak, and that I am somebody else begins to arise, immediately go to mantra, because there's an I am somebody else that's going to do something. So use that thought to do mantra, and mantra will erase that I am somebody else slowly, silently, and permanently. And as we were speaking about earlier, every thought that comes to you is in form, because this mind-created sense of self can only identify with form. It doesn't understand the formlessness from which it arose. So that's very easy to discard thoughts about form, because you know yourself in the real sense as the formless sense of presence. You're the knower of the sense of presence. You know this. All of this appeared on your spontaneous presence, and therefore it's illusion. And you don't have to go through the whole process of saying it's illusion. It's just discrimination of this is form and I'm formless. This thought is being presented to me. If I don't do such and such, this is going to happen. But that's in the illusion. I know that because that appears upon my spontaneous presence in form, and I'm formless. Maharaj points about sky. If at all you want to compare yourself to sky or space. So if you're having any kind of personal difficulties or anything like that, you know immediately that that's in form, in the illusion. And you, the selfless self, view the illusion the same as a dreamer would dream the dream. Once you know you're dreaming, you're not affected by the dream. You're not upset or angry or irritated by anything that occurs in the dream when you know it's a dream. Using mantra and knowing yourself in a real sense, everything that appears upon your spontaneous presence will be seen as not true, and therefore will not cause any disturbance. As Maharaj says, you will be totally unconcerned with the world, but able to use body to do your job, do your duties, and everything fully in the moment, 100%. Without any expectations and without any doership. Because if I take doership, then the guilt and did I do right, did I do wrong, all of these things are occurring because I am somebody else is trying to think that I did something. I am doing, so to speak, as Maharaj says, good thoughts appear, bad thoughts appear. Which ones to accept are up to you. In the moment, you just do that and have no expectations of how it's going to be, because you have no control over that, just as you have no control over the dream.
But I think the challenge is going from that intellectual conviction to the spontaneous conviction, and that's where I find is still there's a stumbling block there, because there seems to be a pretty wide rift between the two, and closing that gap is easy to do in meditation. But in I guess very, very involved intellectual activity, it's not so not so easy to keep that conviction firmly, I guess, implanted in one's. Well, I don't want to say mind, but it's in a deeper realm than mind and selfless self.
And again, stepping forward, one step forward. The next experience that you have where there's an I am somebody else that can be created, mantra. The next experience that you have when something happens and it would bother you, mantra, remain with yourself. Don't take the touch of something that appears to be real, but remember, it's the something that's appearing in the nothing. And the mind is always presenting. The flow of thoughts that's coming through, the mind is presenting to you always in form. So once you know yourself in a real sense, every thought that is presented to you as a formed thought will automatically be discarded. And as you continue to do this, just do this in every moment with every arising. Oh.
Guess it takes time for that conviction to develop firmly.
It takes time to erase the one that's waiting.
Yes, another way of looking at it.
But the one that's waiting is in time, and the one that's doing the erasing through mantra, there's outside of time, so it can be right now.
Okay, guys, you think we're okay? I have to tell you that next week I won't be able to have the meeting because I have board of directors meeting I have to go to.
Okay.
So we'll have the next one in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good, good, good.
All right.
All right, everyone, have a great evening.
Okay.
John.
Thank you. Thank you.
No,
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thanks for
Namaste.
Namaste.
everybody.
Okay.